I didn't go into too much detail in my previous video, but setting up my camp the previous night was an absolute nightmare. I really had to rush to set everything up in an absolute cloud of midges. And I'm really not exaggerating, I put a bag down and when I lifted it up, there were hundreds of midges that had landed on it just in 5 or 10 seconds. So whenever I was putting something in my tent, I'd pick it up near my bike, shake it off, run over to the tent, throw it inside, and run away and hope that the midges would follow me rather than staying on my things. It was awful, so I did not sleep well that night. The only upside is that I woke up relatively early, which meant I packed my things and headed out relatively early as well. Because I planned to finish the NC 500 this day, getting up early meant I could take more breaks and have more time to rest in the evening. My route for the first couple of hours took me along these coastal roads with some really nice sweeping bends. It was a great way to start my day. It was so peaceful and nobody was around. And the road got so much more fun when I turned off towards Applecross. The road was still surfaced pretty well, but the turns got tighter and the hills got steeper, which made it a lot more fun. I stopped off to grab breakfast in Applecross, which was really quite nice, but the thing that stood out to me most is that when I pulled up there were these deer just grazing by the side of the road. They must be from a farm or something. There's no way that wild deer would be that relaxed with so many people around. So I spent a couple of minutes watching them because they were the first large animals around I'd seen other than sheep and the occasional cow. But watching grazing animals do their thing doesn't exactly make for great bike content, so I'm gonna speed through it. After I ate, it was time to head up the mountain and see what the Bealach Na Ba pass was like. While I intend to release a longer video of the Applecross Pass and Bealach Na Ba, it would be downright criminal not to include some footage from this stretch. Funnily enough, when I planned the route, I had no idea that this was supposed to be a very famous pass. I just saw a twisty road and thought it would be fun. But once somebody in Inverness recommended I take this pass, it gave me something to look forward to. And the best part? People were really good about pulling over to let me by. At least until the other side, when there was somebody who just didn't seem to notice me behind them, but I was able to make it most of the way at my own pace, which was really great. At this point, I'm sure I sound like a broken record. I've been going on and on about how I hate being stuck behind other cars, but the fact of the matter is it adds quite a bit of mental overhead. Rather than paying attention to the road and enjoying the scenery, I'm worrying about what the car in front of me will do. And on roads like this, I can't deny that speed does play a part in it, although I mainly think about speed through the corners. Picking the right line and maintaining speed through a corner is one of the most fun and most technical parts of riding, and it feels bad to corner so slowly that your technique doesn't really matter. So going my own pace makes me more relaxed, more engaged, and helps me practice my technical skills. The difference really is night and day, although I will try to avoid belaboring the point in future. The driver of that white car pulled over to let this whole line of bikers through. They're a good egg. Be like that driver. One other quick comment on cornering: bikes are more stable when they're going faster, so it's really easy to drop your bike if you go too slowly around a steep hairpin like this one. And just like that, the Bealach Na Ba spread out before me. It is impossible to overstate the sheer giddy joy I felt looking out over this gorgeous valley for the first time. And when you're on the road, you can see the hairpins going all the way down. It was absolutely fantastic. I just had to stop for a photo shoot here. I'll put one of the better ones up on screen. That did mean I got stuck behind a car again that I'd just gone past, but they very kindly let me by again. Which makes me think of the downside of overtaking. If you overtake somebody and then immediately stop and pull over to take some photos, you just look like a little bit of a prick. If you're pulling over to stop immediately, why bother overtaking in the first place? Which really kind of played on me through my trip, because there were plenty of places that I saw some absolutely amazing views, but it would have been really awkward to pull over because I'd just overtaken people. Not to mention, if there's a whole queue of traffic that I've overtaken, which did happen a couple of times, I have to not only overtake one new vehicle, but the whole queue again. I'm definitely going to end up talking about this again. Off the top of my head, I remember this happening twice in Italy alone. First along the Amalfi coast, then again on my way to the Stelvio Pass. But when you have courteous drivers like the ones in Scotland, it becomes a lot less embarrassing. Unfortunately, the sunshine from the morning didn't last. It got a little bit cloudier and a little bit cooler as the day wore on. I did like how this road wiggled and slalomed through the woods. The only downside was the occasional pothole. I'll highlight them when we get to that point. Yep, those potholes. The scenery around here was really nice, but looking at the back of a van isn't especially compelling footage, so I only included a couple of screen grabs. At one point I did try and overtake that white van, but I didn't have clear enough lines of sight to be comfortable committing. Which is a shame, because these bends would have been fantastic to whip round a little faster. But as soon as I had a clear shot, I went for the overtake. First the white van, then the blue car, who very kindly moved over to let me pass. Next the blue van. And once I overtook the camper van at the front of the queue, I was finally free to relax and enjoy my ride along Loch. And enjoy it I did. I didn't realize at the time, but I saved 9 consecutive clips of riding through this valley. At 3 minutes per clip, that makes it 5 more minutes of footage than Bealach Na Ba. It makes it longer than Glencoe, another very famous pass. So maybe it deserves its own separate video. Admittedly, it is very similar to the video I saved of the Cairngorms, just a little bit cloudier and a little bit more verdant. So I definitely won't commit to releasing that. If it turns out I get a lot of demand for that sort of thing, okay, sure, but I really don't suspect that there is. way Scotland kind of disappointed me is that I saw a lot of signs like this, but I didn't end up seeing any otters. After winding through the woods for a little longer, I found myself at Fort Augustus and the end of the NC 500.